Hey sis, each month inside Entrusted Women University, we feature a brand new interview. You can watch the full interview only in Entrusted Women University, but you can check out this snippet right now.
And
What?
so I was
Stop right
like,
there. Stop right there. Because are you saying you're a hockey fan or are you a
yes,
hockey fan?
I
Lord,
am a
I
hockey.
never did.
I know.
Oh,
I purposely wore my hockey sweater just
stand
for
up
this.
because we can't see it. Stand up. We cannot see. We cannot. Oh my gosh, you're a hockey fan. Sweet baby. Friends, hey. I am here with the old friend to some and a new friend for others. Toni Shiloh, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Y'all, look, when you got your favorite Christian romance writer in the room, you kind of act a little wonky, a little giddy. So if I'm slightly off kilter, which I guess you might be saying I'm always off kilter. But it's because Toni Shiloh is in the room and she is an amazing Christian romance writer. We're going to get into all the things, but if you are new to her, let me give you her bio. Toni Shiloh is a wife, a mom, and an award winning Christian contemporary romance author. She writes to bring glory to God and to learn more about his goodness. She's a native of Texas. Woo, woo. And she now lives in Northern Virginia. Do y'all have snow right now?
Yes. Too
Okay,
much. Too much.
so you see her eyes rolling. You can learn more about Toni at tonishiloh.com. And we're going to get into all the things, her new book that I'm currently reading. And it is so good. It's so good. But I just, at the time that we're recording this, y'all, there is so much going on in our country and so much going on just politically. And this is not a political um, outlet or medium. This is a outlet to equip Christian women communicators of color. But I asked Toni for permission to ask her a question about a post that I recently saw on her Instagram where she's basically saying that she is a Christian fiction romance writer. She's also a Black woman, and she doesn't support the behavior of ICE. At the time of this, we've seen two killings in Minnesota and a lot of outrage there, a lot of protests in the streets, and a lot of backlash. So, Toni, it was I'm scrolling. This is me. I'm always minding my own business, scrolling, and I stopped. I was like, what? Because Toni you never post anything like that. It's always pink. The post was still pink. It's light pink. And that's the feeling you get when you come over there. Light pink, frilly lace, girls' hearts, romance tropes, character features and things like other people romance books. And I was like, what on earth? So I just want to briefly ask you, like, what prompted you to put that on there, and yeah, whatever you want to share on the subject matter.
Yeah, sure. So you're right. Usually my Instagram is all about books, all about romance. Um, I do post, biblical scriptures every morning that I feel have been alluding to what's going on in our country. But what happened was I just couldn't pretend that our country isn't going through this. Yes, I have a book that a new release coming out. Yes, that's primarily my focus, but it felt so disingenuous to just be saying books, books, books when people are dying, when protests are going on, when it feels like freedoms are being stripped away. And so I was like, you know what? Let's clear up any miscommunication because I've seen a lot of people post what they think all the Christians believe. And so I just wanted to make my stance clear, where I stood, what I thought was and was not acceptable, what I believe that Jesus would stand for. Um, and so, yeah, that was the post. And I wasn't surprised by the reactions of some of the people, but I was definitely blessed by the reactions of others. Um, so, yeah.
Girl, oh, this is good. This is so good because I felt the same way. I felt the same way, and I said something this week. And it was kind of something I never do. I never really talk politically, although y'all were like, no, that ain't true. Because I remember when you said, I maybe have maybe one or two things that I've said, but we do live in this world as authors where we're Christian authors and we talk about Christian stuff, but it's almost like we're in the world and we're not looking at the world that's going on because we're commenting about stuff that pertains to our book because we got to sell the book.
Right.
We got to sell the book. But at the end of the day, we are followers of Christ, right? And so for me, that's where I found myself of asking, um, what would Jesus what would Jesus do? What would he say? And quite honestly, Jesus was in the center of a lot of controversy.
Mhm.
I was thinking about the woman caught in the issue of blood. Legally, she should have been stoned. But Jesus stepped in and said, "Let he who is without sin cast the first stone." So there are times when you might perceive that Jesus is going to do one thing or another thing, but he's the unpredictable, and he was always at the center of or at the cusp of culture. And so I just wanted to say I appreciated you doing that, Toni. I think people may assume because you write a particular genre that maybe just your head's always in the clouds and you're immune to the things that happen in the world, but no, you're not. So
Yeah, and I would say if you thought that, you haven't read my books, because my books always touch on something that asks for grace. Like, our world's not perfect. We need grace all the time. And I would hope that people who have read my books can be like, well, no, she shows us who needs the most help, who
mhm.
needs the most love. Like, she shows us that in the books. And I would hope that it wouldn't be a shock that I made a post saying I'm against that kind of behavior.
I think it's only a shock because it's not something we see all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean that could be said of me. I'm saying that could be said of so many of us in this field
Right.
of writing and producing Christian content. It's almost like for me, let me say for me, what I felt is that sometimes I'm teetering on the edge of producing Christian content that's safe to produce. Like we could talk about fear and we could talk about loving your neighbor, but your neighbor might be your husband or your neighbor might be your actual neighbor across the street. But then we start getting into immigration or getting into, people that behave badly, then it might start to get a little uncomfortable. But that I feel is Christianity.
Yeah.
Uncomfortable.
Definitely.
Uncomfortable. All right. We're gonna talk about her book though. Because I could talk about this all day. Hearts on Y'all, that's because if you heard that slam, it's because my desk is messy. Hearts on the Fly. And what I love about this book, which I haven't finished it, is that you get a little close to home. You're talking about macular degeneration. Am I saying this right?
Yep.
Yeah, and your grandfather had it. She has a dedication to her grandfather in the book, and I just want to talk to you real quickly. What was it like diving into that subject that's close to home because someone you love and care about had that disease? I don't know. Is he still living? Is he
Yeah, he's still alive. Um,
okay?
it was eye opening, and I don't mean the pun. It was an unintentional pun, but my grandfather, as long as I've been alive, has always had this. So for me, it was like, oh, he has this. But when I actually wanted to sit down, do the research, and talk to him about it, I realized just how much he's overcome. Um, because you literally, like, your center vision is gone. Like, what we take for granted, reading, looking at people, noticing people's features, like, that's gone. And yes, he wears glasses, but it's not like the glasses. They're not like mine. Like, I put on my glasses, I can see. Great. I take them off. Things are a little fuzzy, but I can still see. It's not the same with him. And so talking to him and realizing just the things he went through trying to actually get a diagnosis, because he had symptoms before the disease actually had a name. Like, he's that old. Um, and so hearing the symptoms he's had, the things he struggled with, getting the diagnosis, and then living with that, because my grandfather raised 4 children. Um, I He's amazing, is what I learned after talking with him and picking his brain. Is like, this man is amazing. He raised 4 children. He provided for 4 children having this disease, and I have never been more proud of a person.
And I'm curious, what was his response when you said, the love interest in my next book is going to have macular degeneration? Like, what was his response?
I so you know you think men, when you talk about books, that sometimes they just wouldn't be interested, and the conversation would end right there. But he was like, "Oh, so this is what you need to know." He's not going to be
Oh,
able to look at her and be like, "Oh, she's an attractive woman." He's like, "It's going to be the other things that attract him." And that was the
love that.
biggest tip I didn't know I needed. Like, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, just after that one tip, I was like, "What else can I ask him? Like, what else do I need to know about being attracted to another person when you can't see them to be attracted to them?"
I absolutely love that, because that's one of the things I was telling Tony, which I'm not going to spoil this for all y'all. But it was a moment, I'm feeling emotional talking about it, where Jabari, the main character, he said something to Val, and it's tied into, how can I say this without giving it away? It's tied into not being able to physically see someone, but being able to see who they are outside of their physical appearance. I just said it. And I'm telling you, I yelled out loud because it was one of the most beautiful statements. I mean, this romance is just so good because it's it's everything you want in a book that's saying, or you want a man to love you for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we aspire to in terms of marriage and sickness and in health till death do us part. And as you start to lose the physical aspects that attracted you to a person, you're hoping that the other pieces would be enough to keep you together. And so
Right.
with this story, that's the foundation. Um anyways, okay, we're there. So I love that from your grandfather. Okay. Um and how did you decide that the character was going to have this? I mean, did you just sit down and just
Yeah. So, my agent wanted me to come up with some sports ideas and to submit to my publisher. And so I'm like, yes, I'm definitely going to do hockey. Like, and
what?
so I was
Stop right
like,
there. Stop right there. Because are you saying you're a hockey fan, or are you a
yes,
hockey fan?
I
Lord,
am a
I
hockey.
heard it
I know.
all.
I purposely wore my hockey sweater just
Stand
for
up
this.
because we can't see it. Stand up. We cannot see. We cannot. Oh my gosh. You're a hockey fan. Sweet baby Jesus. Okay,
I know.
then.
I blame it on being in Northern Virginia. Me and my husband and our family, we've been able to go to games, and then hockey romance is really huge, and I just love everything about it. I
Hockey
have a
romance?
Oh, it's huge. A lot of
What is
people
that?
don't
Even is
realize it.
that? What is that?
It's it's books that have hockey players falling in love.
I must have missed that. I didn't know that this was huge.
Well, I think part of the issue is you don't see it a lot from authors of color because
Because
most
we ain't going
people
to the hockey game. We're at the
that's what
basketball game or the football game.
but they are black American hockey players. A lot of people don't realize that. They're also black Canadian hockey players, because it originated in Canada, but like we're still in it. We're a minority, but we're still in it. And so I kind of like jumped at the idea of representing the underrepresented um, person in hockey. And so, like, I just kind of sat there brainstorming with God, like, what kind of story could I tell? Um, and it's definitely a God thing because I wouldn't purposely go, oh yeah, let's have a hockey player who's losing his eyesight. Like it, your first thought is, well, is there going to be any hockey scenes if he's losing his eyesight? So I was like, this could actually work. And I know someone who has an eye disease. And it was like, God was like, this is the story. Um, and so that's what I pitched, the hockey romance with a hockey player who's losing his eyesight and gets set up on a literal blind date with his ex's sister.
And isn't that something that a hockey player who's losing his sight goes on a blind date? Like there's a lot of things you just, kind of just take for granted. Okay. All right. When readers walk away from reading this book, what are you hoping that they'll walk away with?
Ooh, that's a great question. There's probably lots of stuff. Like, I definitely want them to close the book and be like, that was an amazing read and all the feelings that come with that. But deeper, I want them to realize they can be themselves wholeheartedly. They can be themselves and that God loves them just the way they are. And that you should go for a romance where you're celebrated just the way you are, that you don't have to shrink, change, to be someone else, that you're enough just the way you are. Like if you never change, if you never had any personal growth, that's enough, is one of the things I really would love people to walk away from. And then the other thing is God still does miracles. And I think it's something we get jaded about. Life, gives you a few hard knocks, and you're like, if I get back up, I don't want to hope. But like, God is hope, and so I want people to still hope that miracles can happen.
And that's beautiful. And I'm totally off script. Like I gave her a bunch of questions. I'm not using any of them, but and I'm sorry.
That's all right.
You can plead the fifth at any time. But the other thing that I really like that you did in this book that I've only read the books from the love script love
Mhm.
no love, what is
The
it,
love
love
story.
series,
Yeah.
what's the name of the series?
Oh, love in the spotlight.
Thank you. The love and spot in the spotlight series. I got one book I haven't done, but I love that the characters in this one are there. Well, you not everybody, but you see people wrestling with their faith, and it's not a solidified faith or teetering on the edge of making a commitment to Christ in faith and or having faith and making a really bad decision and that, but it's not the end of their life and walking with God through that decision. I love all these different nuances of relationships with Christ and at different levels. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because in those other books that I read, everybody seemed to, kind of, if they were all new or they were working, they were on their discipleship journey, but this is different. Can you talk about that? Was that an intentional decision as well?
Yes, definitely. I think I always sit and ask what makes sense to the characters before I start writing. because I feel like the characters are the ones who drive the story for me, how I write. And so I like sat down and I was like, what makes the most sense for Jabari? And to me, what made the most sense is he didn't see a reason to believe in God. Like, he did the hard work. He became a hockey player. He is, you know, responsible for any wins or losses. It was all about his effort, and he didn't see a reason for a God. Sorry. And so I love the self discovery of, oh, wait, wait a minute, I might actually need God. And what I thought was my own doing might actually have been God's blessing. And for Val, the heroine, um, I wanted her to be a Christian, but not have that full sense. Because I feel like the beauty about being a Christian is you're constantly in a work of improvement. You're constantly,
Constantly.
yeah, like layers get peeled back every season where God's like, okay, let's talk about this one aspect you're holding on to. And you're like, oh, it's that one's turn now? Like, okay, God, like, we'll work on this. And so that's what I wanted for Val's stage. Like, I wanted her to be a Christian, but God's like, hey, are you being who I called you to be? Are you walking in a room 100% confident in who you are and who I made you to be? Or are you letting others dictate who you are? Um, and I just like that tension it represented for both of them on those stages. And I knew that somehow together their separate journeys would intertwine and God would make something beautiful out of it. Because I'm a pantser. I don't plot, so I don't know what's going to happen. I just know God will make it all work out in the end.
I love it. I'm not at the end, y'all, but I'm telling you, I'm just like every waking moment trying to find a minute to read. Um, I had another question that I was going to. Oh, I wanted to ask you. It's like, oh, I wanted to ask you, do you have siblings? Because there is some sibling rivalry in this book that is so real. Like everything the baby does, everything the baby sister does, everything the middle sister does. Val is the middle sister, and the older sister. I'm like, those dynamics are so real. Is that from research, or do you have siblings?
So I do have siblings. I'm also a natural observer, and I have friends who also have siblings. So I feel like it all collectively adds up in my brain, and I can use it for when I write stories with siblings.
Okay, okay, all right then. I was like, is this person real, or is she pulling character traits from one sister? Or, it was. I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a collective experience because I, I wouldn't say any of my sisters are like the sisters in this book.
Okay. Like, what? I can't believe you said that. Okay. Okay, we've talked about so much. I want to ask you because from the last time I interviewed you, we had this conversation. We have it offline, we have it online. We had this conversation about um Christian fiction romance and the audience that it attracts. And do women of color know about this specific genre? Are they interested in this genre, or are they only interested in the spice? And I want to ask you, do you feel like your audience of color is growing as more people are finding out about you? Would you say that?
Yes, I actually would say that. Because in the beginning, it felt like it was predominantly, um,
White evangelical Christian?
yeah, basically took the words right out of my mouth. Um, and I, I honestly don't know why it is, but I will say overall, I think that Christian romance is just not known in church circles. And I feel like it's because when you go to church, They're saying Bible, and they're saying this nonfiction study, and it's nonfiction, nonfiction, nonfiction. And so it feels like when people do read fiction, they're hiding their fiction, right? Because it might have spice, it might have language. So no one talks about what they're reading for fiction. Or they think it's not Christian to read fiction. And so they don't realize that like Christian fiction has everything. It has suspense, mystery, thrillers, like the whole gamut. And then it feels like in for authors of color, it feels like even less people realize that authors of color are also writing Christian fiction. And I'm on Threads, which is like Instagram's version of Twitter, and there's so many Black people on there saying, "Hey, we're the authors of color who write romance." That's one thing. Like they don't even realize some of the Black authors write romance, so they're asking for Black authors in that. And then when I say, "Hey, I write Christian romance," they're like, "Wait, that's a thing?"
Hey sis, I hope you enjoyed that interview snippet, and I want you to be sure and check out Entrusted Women University by visiting membership.entrustedwomen.com to see the interviews in their entirety. And join us next week for more content to help you on your writing and speaking journey.